Hey guys, this is Izzy and welcome to this week's riveting art video. As you may or may not know, I just moved into a new apartment and so I had this giant canvas that I really wanted to put something on so that it would be a big focal point in the living room. I originally had this painting on it, but I really wanted to cover it up and I was gonna just make like this TikTok about it, and you know, it would have that shock factor of pouring the black paint onto a painting, but as I was doing it I realized it would make a really good like full form video, just like one of my chit-chat sketch-and-chat videos, just because I feel like there's a lot to talk about, you know, in that concept of, you know, painting over a painting. Like, I've gotten so many compliments on this painting, but every time I saw it, I was like kind of embarrassed. But we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. Right now I want to tell you a little bit about the painting that I am working on, the supplies I'm using, some do's and don'ts before we get into today's topic. So as you saw, I was putting a pretty thick just layer of black acrylic paint on top of that original painting. That original painting was an oil painting. I normally would not recommend putting acrylic on top of oil paint. However, that oil painting was over 2 years old and hasn't been touched since I finished it, and I am pretty confident that it is fully dry all the way through the layers. Like, it's good to go. Now, why would you not want to put acrylic paint on top of oil? Because oil is notorious for taking a long time to dry, upwards of 6 months to a year. And even if it's dry to the touch, down underneath it can still be a little moist. And so when you put a fast drying paint like acrylic on top of that, those layers down at the bottom can move around and shift, causing the acrylic on top to crack. Kind of think of the Earth's crust and how the continents all kind of move around and slide around on top of the magma, and eventually, and sometimes we get, you know, cracks and earthquakes and things like that. So it's very similar to that in practice, but on a much smaller scale. And yeah, I think you guys get the idea. So yeah, I definitely would recommend using caution. Now, you can use oil on top of acrylic, and I actually really recommend that, but that is neither here nor there, so it's whatever. But yeah, so the black background, the black matte paint is acrylic. This paint that I'm doing here, this brown color that you see on this flower, that is also all acrylic. I'm using pretty cheap paints today. I think most of everything is either Apple Barrel craft paint or Master's Touch, like the Hobby Lobby brand paint. Yeah, and then later you'll see I start going in and doing some line work, and that is all with a light gray Posca paint pen, which is an acrylic based paint pen. So with all that aside, let's go ahead and talk about what I really wanted to talk about, like this idea of painting over a painting that you just don't like. So the original painting, to give you some context, it was for an art class and it was supposed to be a self-portrait, and I wanted to do, and I've had this idea for a while, to do a portrait that contained natural fauna and flora from Missouri and then natural and fauna and flora from Texas, because at this point in my life I've lived in both Texas and Missouri for just about the same amount of time, and when people ask me like where I'm from, what's my home state, I don't really have an answer because I feel just as attached to Missouri as I do Texas. I say y'all now like unironically, but I also say the whole like oop when I run into someone, or oop, the yeah, no, no, yeah thing. I don't know. If you're from the Midwest, you know what I'm talking about. So I really you know, I wanted to capture that into a painting, and for that reason I kept the painting as long as I did, because I loved the idea. You know, there was me in this forest, and there were cardinals, but there were also like rattlesnakes and other animals that were, you know, typical to Texas. And then, you know, I really liked having all of those elements, and I had fun painting the body. I feel like the portrait part of it was really good, but a lot of the landscape was a little lackluster to me, and I wasn't super happy with it. And at the end of the day, why does it matter? You know, I'm clinging on to one part of this painting, and it's not like it was like a little 9x10 painting in the corner of my room. It's a big canvas. This is like a 4 foot by 6 foot canvas. Maybe less. It might be a 3 foot by 4 or 3 foot by 5, something like that. You get the idea. It's a big canvas, and if I'm gonna have it take up that much space in my apartment, I want it to be something I like, right? And so it sat on my wall for 2 years. Me like literally cringing every time I saw it. And when people came over, I have art up everywhere, and so people are like, oh, can we like look around? Like, my house is like a little art museum, and people always want to look around and like see all my canvases. And sometimes that's literally people have bought things off of my wall. So every time we got to that one, I was so embarrassed, and I really, you know, and you know what, as an artist, you have to take that control into your own hands, and you have to realize, if you don't like it, even if somebody else does, you have that power. If you don't like it, throw some black paint on top, cover it up. I chose to go with black paint because it would be a easier process to cover it up than with a white background, and I just don't have a ton of white. And with quarantining going on, I'm not about to, you know, go out to the art store and stuff when I have an option here. I know working on a black canvas has its own tricks and whatnot, but for the sake of being as conscious of social distancing as possible, I chose to go with the black paint, just because that's what I have. And then I've been really okay, here you see it took a month, I took a month break from existing and from art, because quarantine was really messing with me, and like Animal Crossing came out, and I was like distracting myself from any possible negative thought possible by playing Animal Crossing, and that really affected my art, and it really affected my ability to get things done. I didn't make any videos, I didn't work on this painting. I literally put like 200 hours into Animal Crossing, and I'm simultaneously proud and disappointed, so you don't have to tell me twice. I know. But I really wanted to do all these flowers. I've been really enjoying drawing these flowers, and I wanted something simple but a statement for in my living room. I almost wish I hadn't done a painted flower in the middle, and I had just covered the canvas completely in these outlines, but then another part of me wishes I hadn't done the outlines and just covered it in painted flowers. So you guys can tell me what you think in the comments. Just be nice, please. And then here I am signing it. At the end of the day, I'm not 100% happy with this painting, but I'm not embarrassed of it either, and I am happy when I see it on the wall. So that to me is a huge improvement compared to where I was before with the painting before. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a comment, hit subscribe. So I hope to see you guys next week for another riveting art video.
What?
I made an oopsie.
Throw the whole painting away.
That's what I'm thinking.